Throughout the multiple years of hip hop, there have been many legends that came, some greater than others, some on a wider scale. But in the city of Waco and in the Central Texas area, there was only one that was known record wide, worldwide, outside of the lines of the town, outside of the lines of the county, outside of the lines of the state. We're talking about Rappin Reggie Reed. One of the things that I always wondered was who this man was outside of being my father. I always wanted to know who people knew him as, who people referenced him as, the memories of people in this town with him outside, in the parties, seeing him just out in person as a regular man, and working with him on their own. The reason for me to start this documentary was a little odd. One day I was sitting at work, and a fellow coworker was sitting next to me. She started talking to me about my music. She was like, "Hey Reggie, I heard you rap. Rappin' Reggie. This next step we're gonna take, I'm gonna go and talk to my coworker, Miss Michelle, who was the one that incited me on the Rappin' Reggie moment."
All right, so I'm sitting at work one night and Reggie hands me this piece of paper and I'm like, "Thanks, Reggie, Rappin' Reggie," and I'm just laughing. And then behind me, our other coworker is snickering, and I said, "What? Y'all don't remember Rappin' Reggie?" I said, "Rappin' Reggie was this dude that used to come to the schools when I was in junior high, and he would rap about staying in school and staying off drugs, and he was the coolest thing ever." And behind me, Bruce is like, "That's Reggie Jr. right there."
Older guy who was actually sitting in the nursing station with us put out a little laugh because he already knew the deal. He went ahead and told her, "You said Rappin' Reggie, right?" And she was asking me, "Reggie, do you know Rappin' Reggie? Do you remember Rappin' Reggie?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's my dad."
And I was like, "Who is? Reggie is?" And Reggie's like, And I said, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. And so then he has to scroll through his phone. He shows me these pictures. And sure enough, Reggie Jr. looking just like Rappin' Reggie.
I went ahead and showed her some of the old pictures that I had of my father in my phone. I went about showing her some of the things that I had in reference to him just being my dad and not having his Rappin' Reggie persona on. Describe some of the old things that we still had of his and just continued to give her the understanding of who he was. After that conversation, I began to wonder, do people still remember this man? Went online and did a search. There I found top 20 reasons you knew you grew up in Waco in the 80s and the 90s. The number one reason was if you remember Rappin' Reggie. I continued to scroll down to the bottom of the comments and found a gentleman that was listing the information asking, does anybody still have the old Rappin' Reggie videos? He was talking about the story that he heard of my father. And what he listed was, he found out that Rappin' Reggie was an old drug dealer that had to do the public service announcements just to keep himself out of jail, which was completely off. I always wondered what my father's reason for stopping was. He had the city in the palm of his hand. He had the outside cities listening to his music. He was reaching out to kids all throughout Central Texas. He had earned himself a record in the book of Guinness World Records. But what was the reason? That explanation was never given to me, and I never got a chance to ask. So in this doc, we're going to take a trip back and get to speak to some of the people that rode along with him throughout that journey. First, we're going to kick it off with his roots of music. He got his start in one of the best record stores that we still have standing to this day in East Waco, Floyd's Audio Capital, a legend within itself. He used to come as a young man and come and take his time and sell his records, stand out and sell tapes, and work for Mr. Floyd. We're going to take a trip that way, go in and talk to the OG Mr. David, Mr. Gigi that's still working this day, still knowing my pops for knowing what he did.
The fondest memory that I can remember is we had a party, we did a party together one night, and I thought I was good enough back then to take him out on the Wheels of Steels, and we didn't get into it. It wasn't no disagreements or nothing.
Yeah.
But he told me, that I'm the teacher and you the student. And I'll never forget that, which he was the teacher because he taught me a lot.
Yeah, man.
But your pops he was a good dude, man, and worked hard for everything that he
Straight
earned,
up. Heck yeah, well shoot, that's all I needed from you, Mr. D.
Okay.
I appreciate your insight, man. Thank you for always being there. This is an OG right here, Mr. Gigi up here, right here at Floyd's Audio Capital. Y'all ever need to come buy y'all some CDs, tickets, whatever. This is where it's at. They still slanging them good records.
This next trip we're going to take is up to the radio station 94.5 The Beat, a hip-hop and R&B station that's still pushing out the good music to the whole Central Texas surrounding area.
All right, Reggie D, give him the question right quick one more time.
First rapper in the city of Waco to have his own hip-hop video and have it played on the station, on the TV station in the town.
Yeah, Fox 44 back then. Rappin Reggie, that was it. Rappin Reggie, round of applause.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, she know her knowledge, man.
Hey, now I'm gonna ask you this. Now check it out. Now you already hooked up with the Vanity Fine and get your rolling card. Now for a bonus, I'm gonna throw in something special. You can tell me what the name of that video was. You don't know? All right, well, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna post it on 94.5 Facebook page in a minute. It was called "Get Busy, Not Dizzy." Get busy, not dizzy. It was an anti-drug song.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Area. We're going to go and chop it up with Mr. Batman, the OG DJ, one of the young ones that learned from my pops and is still doing this music to this day.
So, had to come sit down with the OG, Trill OG Batman, the DJ for the city of Waco, man. But shoot, that's Uncle Batman to me. You know what I'm saying? So, just came to get some info from you.
All right.
What started you in the DJing in the movement, the DJing movement, and what was the first place you officially kicked it off at?
I always heard about this guy named Reggie Reed, but never really had a chance to meet him. And so I was playing softball. So matter of fact, Reggie was playing softball too. So our teams played against each other, and I heard somebody introduce him. So I just wanted to introduce. I said, "Hey, Rappin Reggie, you want to DJ at night out?" He said, "Yeah." So for some reason, we just kicked it off, and he said, "Hey, come to the club, man. I'm gonna get you in there." And it just so happened that the guy who owned the club was my mother and father's friend for years. His name was Noah Jackson. And so Noah knew me, but I really didn't know Noah. And Noah knew me from when I played football for him for the Elks, long time ago.
His nights would include throwing parties out at the Night Owl for the grown folks in East Waco, and then sliding down Waco Drive on the next night for a party for the youth at the skating rink, Skate World, still standing to this day.
First, he would go to the skating ring. We would DJ with Ronald Rush, and he would DJ until 11 o'clock at the skating ring. Then we would head to the Night Owl on a Saturday, and we would be there about 5 in the morning.
Get busy. When you're at your local school and you're trying to learn. But when the lunch bell rings, say you're ready to burn. You wanna smoke some crack, sniff some cane, and if you don't stop, you will go insane. Because your body can't take it, you'll damage your brain. You'll walk around the world with your life all frizzy. What I'm trying to say is get busy, not dizzy.
And he's the one. Reggie is the first one who taught me how to DJ. He taught me the aspects of DJing, how to mix it in and everything. And so I can honestly, I tell this story all the time. He was the first one that taught me how to mix. And I hear all these cats talking like they the first to do this. Man, Reggie was the first to do everything. Yeah. I was just there to witness it. Yeah. He was the first to be on the major radio station, which was KWTX 97.5. He was on the morning show with Chris Lean. Yeah. And then after he would get off the show with that, then I would take him down to Channel 44 where he had his own TV show called Kid Vid. And then we would sit there for about a couple hours taping that. And it was just like a full day with Reggie. I mean, if you wanted rest, don't go with Reggie because you was not gonna get no rest. Yeah. Once you start at 5 o'clock in the morning, you're gonna be going to about 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Yeah. And so but I was blessed to be there for the ride, and he kind of taught me a little bit about the music business and everything. And so I just after he kind of got out of it, which he's still really in the music, he's doing a lot of producing now. Yeah. But no, I thank God for Reggie, because without Reggie, it wouldn't have been no Batman at all. And without Batman, it wouldn't have been no Precise, the guy who just came in here. Without me, it wouldn't have been no Mr. BJ, that DJ. So the cats you hearing on the radio right now, the ones I brought in.
Yeah, straight up, man. Say, know your history, young men. Know your history. Don't claim that you number one if you don't know what came before.
And matter of fact, he was the first one to do a video.
Man, hey, I'm glad you said that. Well, I'm going to make sure we put a little clip of this on there. I want y'all to check out this Batman shimmy. This is going to be the next hot dance for the whole world. We're going to be doing the Batman shimmy, boy, every night club, every DJ.
Hit my TV on. I hit it for the shower so I could be fresh. Took out my feelers so I could look my best.
I just want to ask you too, Bat, what who came up with the idea, or who sat there and said, you know what, let's try and break this world record. We gonna scratch for 2 days straight.
Reggie came up with that idea, and there was and it was right after. It was during the time where he was doing the radio show and doing the TV show, and he just he asked me, he said, man, he said, what if I try to get in the Guinness Book for DJing? And I said, for DJing, I mean, what are you talking about? He said, well, I'm thinking about, he said, I asked Noah. I asked Noah Jackson, and Noah Jackson was with it. Because I told him, I said, if I get on there and break the record for DJing, I'm still like confused. I said, but like DJing, like what do you mean? He said, I'm gonna DJ, we'll try to DJ for at least 2 or 3 days, as long as I can stay up. And so right then I stopped. I had a Monte Carlo. I went 3 days. I really thought he was crazy. Yeah. But he said, no, Batman. He said, stick with me. I'm telling you, it's gonna work. And so he actually got in touch with the guy at Guinness Book. Yeah. And the guy came down here. And the guy actually had a hotel, and he would come and check on Reggie. Every night he'd just pop in, make sure he was still. But they had some other way where they could tell that he was still staying up. And so Noah opened up his doors for 3 days straight.
Well, I sounded pretty convincing from it, but what really helped me was Tom Joyner. With a guy.
Now that's a big name for folks who listen to radio in this area. I mean, to even have Tom Joyner talk to you is kind of a treat.
It was.
Mr. Joyner was also one of the ones who helped him become a legend, a world record-setting DJ within the world of hip-hop and all kinds of music. Mr. Joyner was his reference to the gentlemen of the Guinness Book of World Records to let them know that this young man had it. He had the potential. He has the drive. He has the work to set this next record. On the weekend of February 20th, 1987, a hip-hop record was set by my father. He set the world record 44 and a half hours for DJing nonstop. didn't fall asleep, didn't take any breaks. He actually DJ'd a party in between it at the Night Owl, an old school nightclub in East Waco, Texas.
Got into, what's your world record about?
44 and a half hours.
What'd you do for 44 and a half hours, Reggie?
Played 785 12-inch singles.
And I think he DJ'd 45 hours, something like that. So it wasn't quite 3 days, but it was almost that. But I don't think I could have did it for a day. I mean, playing a record after record, oh no.
Man, say, I was trying to get an understanding of like, okay, so wait a minute. It ain't no digital technology or none of that.
This is record by record. So he literally had to go in a crate, and that's what we call, what we had records in. Had to go in the crate, get a record, and here's the key. He couldn't let it couldn't be no break in the music.
Yeah,
it had to be a mix. It had to be a continuous mix. And I think the guy how he knew that he did it. He would, back then, we don't have these digital cameras where they can film for 48, 50 hours, something like that. Back then, it was only about a 12-hour span they could film. So he set his thing up, filming Reggie, and so he would film it, and so he'll come back like in about 10 hours, change out film, boom, put another one in, and go back to the room and check that one out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's how he kept up with it, making sure he was doing it non-stop.
Right.
And so Reggie did all 45 hours. So he actually got into the Guinness Book. I don't know if anybody's actually beat that, but I don't think nobody's brave enough to try to stay up for almost 3 days DJing.
Man, say I was long searching it online, trying to find it myself to see if they still had it listed or anything. I couldn't come across it, man. But I know I saw on the footage with Miss May Jackson, just showing some of the stuff, she said that they had put it into, I want to say, 1988 version of the Guinness Book of World Records. So if I can get a hold to it, but check that out.
So was that long ago?
88, bro.
Oh, man.
30 years.
I'm getting old, man.
It's going to be 30 years, man.
Oh, my goodness.
Heck yeah. Shoot. Another one. So 30 years on the record and 30 years for the number one. I swear this had to be the dopest PSA, because when people would start singing it to him, he had to push his cart off in the grocery store 30 years ago, man.
My name is Rappin Reggie with Channel 44, telling you to get busy and much, much more. So people out there, won't you take my advice? Say no to drugs and yes to your life. Cause I'm jamming to the beat on the clock by the hour, with the beat so funky make you want to take a shower. Yo, this is Rappin Reggie with KWKT, Channel 44, telling you to say no to drugs, get busy, not dizzy.
When that came out, that little promo. That promo came out before the video actually came out, so it was kind of setting people up.
Yeah.
And so we were that song became a hot song. We had to play it in the club, and people were like, yeah, he's right. You be in the grocery store, people coming up behind you going, get busy, not dizzy. get.
Yeah. So did y'all just sit down and come to an idea on that one? It was like, okay. So
that's all Reggie. Reggie came up with the song, and Luther Mitchell came up with the beat, and the late Luther Mitchell.
Yes, sir.
Man, he Luther Mitchell, which a lot of people don't know. He's the only reason the High Five is here.
Right.
Yeah, him and the late William Walton.
Yes, sir.
And so those two are the only reason High Five, there was even ever a High Five. Yeah. Because without his studio, no music would never got done and sent to Jive Records.
Yes, sir.
High Five. Tony Thompson out of Waco, Texas, was one of the greatest vocalists in this whole world. My father, being one of the top men in music at the time in the city, was also a contributor into that. As soon as High Five picked up and began to get the ball rolling, my father also got to take part in their tour, being one of the road managers for the young men.
Yeah, man. Shoot, just had to come and get together, you know what I'm saying, get some of this good old history and talking to a primary source of somebody that experienced it themselves.
With a love for music always being his source for what he did, my father expanded from not just rapping and DJing, but also into production. One of the greatest musicians that I ever knew in my life, Mr. Luther Mitchell, was his side producer, the top dog behind the keys, and they made multiple songs at the Matrix 7 Studios, originally in Waco, Texas.
This spot right here also got some music legacy to it. Back in the Gap, late 80s, early 90s, this is where Pops was doing all this music stuff with the late, great music super producer, Mr. Luther Mitchell, may he rest in peace, and another great music man from the city of Waco, the dude that was like one of the also cornerstones, along with my Pops and along with Mr. Mitchell, doing this music and helping High Five get themselves on, man. This is on my route home every day, so I always see this building, and I don't see a photography studio. I see Matrix 7 recording studios with the late great Luther Mitchell in mind, late great William Walton in mind, and my Pops in mind on a regular basis, man. You know, like hearing all these cats back in the day, or what we had about 2-3 years ago, cats be talking about, yeah, I'm the one that started off this performing car show stuff. Man, if you was a baby, you went to the Autorama. Pops doing shows at the Autorama, bringing folks through here, man.
Yeah, they had him up there. At the time, he was the only. Autorama used to be a huge thing, but it was kind of. I don't mean to sound so racial, but it was kind of like a white only thing.
Right.
But Reggie broke that barrier, kind of like Run DMC broke the where remember they used to do Live Aid, and there was nothing but rock.
Right.
Run DMC was the only rap group that they invited to Live Aid with all them white people. Well, same thing with the Autorama. Autorama was nothing but a kind of a rock type of blues type thing they played. But guess what? Reggie was the first guy who performed at Autorama.
Heck yeah, and that's one of the things that's trying to make a explanation, man. Doing this music stuff, we get to, you know what I'm saying, put all our rap and music stuff together on a regular basis. Back late 80s, rap was still a baby. And it wasn't too many people outside of our race that was willing to, you know, buy into it, you know, that are as set adults. So for it, the reason I'm doing this is just, you know what I'm saying, put some stuff together for my Pops, but you can't find too many places in a southern in the southern United States, you know what I'm saying, allowing a black man to, you know, teach their children through hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like you doing a public service announcement through hip hop.
and that was a blessing when he was doing Kid Vid.
Yeah.
What they would do is, I think they would just pick a certain kids to actually come and be on the show with him.
Right.
But if you were ever seen that show, there was no blacks on there.
Yeah.
It was all white kids.
Yeah.
But the parents was, I guess they figured this is a good cause. He's saying, don't get high off life, not on drugs.
Yeah.
Get busy, not dizzy. So they were letting their kids come there.
Yeah.
And every now and then you might see one or two black kids, but at the most there were kids coming from Hewitt, Midway Middle School, Midway Elementary, Parkdale. But, it wasn't. You didn't see no Wiley or no J.H. Hines kids, there.
Right.
And he broke the barrier in a lot of places. Another thing you probably didn't know, he actually opened up for who was that? Fresh Prince, DJ Jazz. Remember, they came to Waco around. I think it was 80s. It's about 89, 90. Yeah. It was at the convention center. He opened up for them. He opened up for a fair amount of people around that time.
Man. That's what I'm talking about. It's a lot of good stuff that I got. A lot of old family memoirs and stuff, just pictures and stuff. Things that could speak volumes, man. Pictures with New Edition and Bobby Brown when he was on tour with High Five. You know what I'm saying? Just a whole bunch of good stuff at the house, and just musical stuff wrapped up all together.
R. Kelly.
Shoot, Pops brought R. Kelly to the Dewey to play ball with y'all boys.
Yeah. R. Kelly came in, man, shout out to Coach Eccles. He the one who brought R. Kelly. When R. Kelly got down here, R. Kelly was still kind of fresh out of being out the hood and everything. So he told Coach Eccles, he said, what time is sound check? And Coach said, it's probably going to be about 6 o'clock. Well, this was like about 1, 2 o'clock. He said, you got anywhere I can play basketball there? And so Coach Eccles called me. He said, man, Kelly want to go play basketball somewhere. So I said, well, take him to the Dewey. They playing ball over there at all times. You know what I'm saying? And sure enough, I guess he got in touch with Reggie, and Reggie drove him over there. He played ball over there with the hood for about 3 or 4 hours. And a lot of people don't know that. Yeah. R. Kelly was right there at the Dewey, played ball.
Yeah. and an hour later, eating hot league wraparounds at the house. You know
hot league wraparound, then hit the stage with the public announcement.
Yes, sir. yeah, man. Shoot. Well, yeah, I just had to come together with, I know I could say, one of the cornerstones of this hip-hop thing in our city, and a person that knows personally my pops and who he is. So this is a salute to my pops for Father's Day, man. Just wanted to get some stuff out there. I wanted to educate the up-and-comers so they won't be able to say they first. Not just knocking you for what you're doing, but helping you know your history, partner. Hip-hop was here before you grabbed that microphone.
I never got the chance to ask my father exactly what the reason was that he stopped. The only thing that could register to me was the loss of our family member and his cousin, Timothy Allen Reed. Tim Reed was one of the best singers that I ever heard in my life, not just saying this based off of family. Very talented young man and a student at the one and only Prairie View A&M University. From my knowledge, the last years of his life were spent on campus completing his degree. And from the story I was told, we lost my cousin to a carjacking. After his death, very untimely, I believe my father took his step away from hip-hop, took his step away from rap, took his step away from DJing, and put it all away for himself. Within those latter years, my father began to come back to music, but in a different scope. Once he began to be a deacon at our church, he brought back the music that he felt would be a necessity for him to grow, gospel music, and expanded into creating his own production company, No Cab Production. With all of the landmark spots in Waco remembered for historic reasons, there are a lot of other reasons that I remember him for. Places being stamped in my memory by my father. One of the major remembered spots in the Central Texas area, especially for Waco, is that Suspension Bridge. Everybody remembers it for being that one spot in Texas that helped everything move back in the earlier centuries. But I remember it for being the first place that I remember seeing my father's first video, telling everybody to get busy, not dizzy. I always love my pops, always have respect for him. It's things that we don't understand sometimes. But forever, you're going to be my father, and I'm going to be your son. So sincerely, this is Reggie D, signing off.
Rappin Reggie Reed.
Cool side. Ready?
Uh-huh.
Well, we're on Minority Farm, not meaning no harm. Just me and Mae Jackson till the break of dawn. We kicking it live and don't want to come in. I'm on KWTX, Channel 10, you know what I'm saying? Minority Farm.
to the mall. Said, give me 10 minutes, and you know I was with it. We arrived at the mall about 3:05. I jumped out the car and I was feeling live. Just about this time, saw the rest of the crew. They said, yo, Rappin, what you wanna do? And then I saw a little girl who was feeling blue. Said, what's up? Why are you crying? Said, my sister's in the hospital and she's dying. Some kids at school sold her dope, and now the doctor say there's little hope. So I turned to the group with tears in my eyes. I said these words, they had to realize. You gotta stop the world and stop this frizzy and teach the young to get busy, not dizzy.